Hello everyone and welcome back. I've always been fascinated, well, I wouldn't call the word fascinated. I've always been interested in genealogy and finding out about my ancestors. I don't care about his ancestors, but my ancestors I've been interested in finding out about, so that I can more or less tell my kids and show my kids and kind of keep it through the history, because there was people that kept track of us throughout the years to be able to pass some of that down to us. And I know there's people, and some of my family members too, that really just don't give a care. They don't care. I don't care who my grandma was, So but I've been always, for years, I've been interested in that since I remember my grandmother when I was little, and her talking about the relatives and some of them and stuff. I've always been interested in that. So I used to do research on that, and you're talking research back before. They probably had DNA, but I don't think it was readily available. And the internet, before the internet was really giving you, you type in Hodges and it pops up the name Hodges. This was back in the days when they really didn't have a lot of that. So there was some people, that did research for you whenever you said, hey, my grandfather was, Ed Berry, and I wanted to find out information about him and who his father was. So there's people who does that for a living, and a lot of them back then, they said, I'll eat my hat if this guy's not your grandfather's father, and stuff like that. I don't know, and might have been hungry for hats, I don't know, but and then later on, when you do that stuff yourself and you can put two and two together, and you go online and you see records and stuff, you're like, boy, those people, they had to have been smart to figure all that out without internet. So I've always been, kind of interested in it. And I have done research, and I have done finding out who my grandparents was, and my great-grandparents, and my great-great-grandparents, stuff like that. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there watching that are smarter than me who does this genealogy, I guess they call it, or ancestry. Who does that for a hobby or for a living, and maybe they can help out some, probably give me a bunch of insight. Now, I have been able to find out, and another reason too is I know we have different stuff in this. I know we're not, my skin is white, but I know I'm not, Caucasian, not of any other race. I know that I've got other stuff in me, and I know my sister went and got a DNA test done, and hers said she was, a big majority of it was African American. Now, I knew we had black in us, but I really didn't know about what extent and where it, you would figure. I know my grandfather, I don't think he was black, and my grandmother, they were Indian. I don't think they was black. So, but it came from somewhere in our family, and so I'm trying to do studying and research and stuff. Now my great grandfather, pretty old guy at the time, everybody has traced it down to them. They're like, oh, we know that this person is this person, but we don't know who his father is. And nobody really knows from a certain point who the father of the last person that they know is. Nobody's been able to figure it out. You're talking way back 1710, something like that. So, and that was my father's father's family's side. And it's kind of difficult without pictures too. I have a picture of my grandfather when he was little, and my great-grandfather and some of their family. My grandmother, and this is another reason to start talking about and saying it today, I was interested in. I've been looking for a picture of my grandmother, and all of the pictures that I had either got thrown away or lost or something, and I just happened today to come across somebody who had something posted on a ancestry site of theirs, and it was a picture of my grandmother when she was young, holding, I guess it was her grandfather or her father, and it just happened to be a picture, and I was excited because I finally have, even if it's an old picture, I have a picture of my grandmother. And I remember, still got something up here, but I remember pictures of my grandmother and stuff. I remember my grandmother when I was young, but she passed away in 1990 or 91, and so I remember pictures of her and them whenever old pictures of when her and my grandfather was married, and picture of my dad when he was little and stuff. Now my dad's passed on too. He passed away in 93 and December of 93, and so I have memories of him, but and a couple of grainy pictures of him, but I like to have photos and have stuff so that I can, my kids, they're growing up, and I have one who's 36, and I also have some younger ones, and I want them to say, hey, this was your great-great-grandmother, and this was your, so-and-so, and that way at least they know some of the history of the family. Now, as far as ethnicity in my family, we've always been known that we, whenever they say Caucasian, white, and you don't think, whenever you think of white, you think of, Hitler, blonde hair, blue-eyed, people like that. Not people that come from Argentina, so, and so I don't, the ethnicity, I'm an American, I was born in America, so bottom line is, regardless of what I have mixed up in me, I'm an American. So, I care more about the history of my family, not the ethnicity of my family, because I know some of them, and there's from England, and some of them's from Ireland, and some of them's from, even one person said, oh, they're from, I don't think it was Argentina, I think Portugal, and I know some of them's, and we got a lot of American Indian in us. I know on my grandmother's side, their great-great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother, and them is Cherokee Indian. So we got a lot of, mixed up stuff in this. And so the ethnicity is not the biggest deal. It's the, who is your great-great-great-great-grandfather? Who is your great-great-great-grandmother? Now, from what records say, and they could get this wrong, is the sister of Pocahontas. We descended from the sister of Pocahontas, and from what I understand, Pocahontas didn't have any kids. I thought Pocahontas was that cartoon. I didn't even know she was a real person, but anyways, you've, like my grandfather, I mentioned in a movie, they were played in a couple movies, and my aunt and them, and those are memories that I have. And my grandfather on my mother's side, he would being a singer and doing a couple movies. He's online. He's on the internet. You can see pictures of him. And same with my aunt. You can see pictures of him. My grandfather, and then from my father's side, on the other hand, and that's one of the main reasons for me doing this, is I'm trying to find pictures of them too, so I can say, hey, this was my grandfather and my great-grandfather on my father's side. Now, I'm looking up, and there's some weird names, I know names like the last name Chester and Sims and things like that, and Berry and Horsford. But the thing is, we got first names like Slaughter. The name's Slaughter, and I've never heard that name. I always thought slaughter was something that you do when you go to a cow thing and kill the cows. But his name was Henry Slaughter Berry. And, some more relatives. I have a relative who was known as the Crackers. Whenever you say, hey, you crackers. But they were called crackers because they rounded up cows. And they supplied the beef to Cuba and to some of the other places in Florida and around the area, and they would crack those whips. So that's where Florida cracker came up. I always thought cracker was, hey, you crackers. Nah. But anyway, they were Florida crackers, and there's some pictures of them, a couple pictures of them, but not direct people in my family. I wish I had more. I wish I could go back with pictures and stuff from all the way back. My grandmother's side of the family, they were Cherokee Indians, and they were somewhat famous Indians, like the Van Indians. They were, and if you Google the Vans, they're known for quite a few things in history. Now the Berry side, we're still trying to figure out. There's Berry crossroads and some of the berries and everything, and then some of them are saying, hey, you're from, you're a Cubanese. No, the thing is, I don't really know, and I would like to find that out. That's why I'm hoping that some of you people that watch my videos are like, hey, I do genealogy for a living. I just happen to come across your video, and I do that. So, hey, my last name is Berry, and my great-great-great-grandmother's name we got from the same place. Hey, you're my cousin. Just stuff like that. I'd like to find out. People that watch my channel and that do this stuff for a living, maybe you can help me. Maybe the family where they came from, and where they originated from, and things like that. Because apparently, I know certain things that I read and I write them down and I keep the records of them, but I'm not book smart up here. I can't really, logically come up with it, but I try. So now, like my kids, I keep records of my kids, where my son was born and where my other kids was born, and I'm here in the Philippines now, so a lot of them records, it's hard to get them over there, but and that way when they grow up, I'm hoping when they grow up, they're like, hey, Dad was interested in that genealogy stuff, he was interested in finding out, so hey, let's continue on and find out, because nowadays they got these smartphones and Claude, I forgot the guy's name on their AI thing. So anyways, get a lot of help from them. So anyways, I just wanted to make a short video about me doing the family history thing, and how many of you guys out there are into family history and are trying to keep track of your ancestors and your, great-great-great-great-grandfather. He was a caveman, used to bam, bam, bam. So anyways, let me know in the comments if any of you guys keep track of your history and that you guys, do that, whether it's a hobby or, maybe you got a job and that's your job. But let me know in the comments. Subscribe to my channel. I don't know, I keep getting it mixed up. I believe it's over here. And I know the like buttons should be right in front, and then there's that, a couple more buttons over here somewheres, and then there's this one up here, which is a link to some stuff, and then at the end of my channel, I think stuff comes across the screen and pops up. So any of those, just click on any of them, and they should, take you somewheres. And got a lot more videos to watch, so watch some of my other videos. Well, that's all I've got in this one. God bless all of you, and God bless each and every one. And I'm just going to play with my daughter Squishy for a little while. Dr. Pepper Squishy. Anyways, take care, guys.